the concept for Den of Wolves is very much going back to basics in that regard, where it's like we're looking back at what inspired the first Payday game, Payday the Heist, with heat and like it's more more serious tone. It's more Michael Mann than Michael Bay.
Okay, interesting. That's a good way of putting it. I think.
we're not putting rocket launchers in the hands of the robbers because they're supposed to feel like, career criminals.
Welcome to the first of two incredibly special interviews I was able to conduct with two genuine legends of the heisting genre. In this one, I'm talking to the one and only Simon Viklund, voice actor for Bane, music maestro on most tracks from Payday the Heist and 2, and now audio director and composer working on the upcoming Den of Wolves at 10 Chambers, the game studio he helped found. If you're watching this because you're interested in Payday, he's bound to be at least part of the reason. During our conversation, we discussed the history of his work, including his move away from Starbreeze to create GTFO, his process for creating music and how it's evolved within Den of Wolves, and a little extra juice regarding the narrative and lore of the game. Subscribe if you want to see more Den of Wolves or this sort of behind the scenes content. And now, let me pass you over to the man himself for a full introduction.
I just straight into questions.
Yeah.
Great. I was like just joking before about doing everything to not mention the P word, but we're going to be straight in with it probably. So if you could just, for anyone who might not know, they probably should know, give a little introduction as to your history, but also now your current role here at 10 Chambers. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I've been working with games since 2000. With Ulf all the way. Whenever a company went bankrupt or he left the company to start something new, I've tagged along. I've never had to do a job interview ever in my life. We have a good working relationship, and I really enjoy working with Ulf. He has this holistic idea of game development and game design, and it feels like we have a good rapport. I like a lot of the same movies and stuff that he likes, so we have a similar sort of idea for references and so on. So we get one another, and I guess the first time I made something that was like sort of making a little bit of a splash would be my reinterpretations of the original music for Bionic Commando when I did the Bionic Commando Rearm soundtrack. So none of those melodies or songs or chord progressions were really written by me, but I sort of reinterpreted them and made completely new sort of versions of those songs. And that seemed to be really appreciated, So that was in 2008.
Right.
And then in 2011, we were in a new company. We called ourselves Overkill Software, and we did Payday the Heist, which was Ulf's concept, where he essentially said, like, let's make Left 4 Dead, but replace the zombies with cops. And we were like, why doesn't anyone do this? You have like aliens versus space marines, Nazis versus allies. Is one of the classic sort of like conflicts. Cops and robbers. Why doesn't everyone? There should be more cops and robbers games, So we were like, we have to do this. This is too good to pass on, And then we did a sequel, Payday 2. I worked on that. Did pretty much all the music up until maybe 2017 or something, and then now we've made GTFO as 10 Chambers, and now we're making Den of Wolves, which is conceptually going back to or thematically at least going back to Payday in a lot of ways, with like a heist theme, and it's 4-player co-op, yes, but we're focusing on developing narrative and to a great degree player agency, the player's ability to sort of make choices on their own, and like, I want to do the heist this way, and I'm acquiring the intel and the resources to carry out the heist the way I want to do it, rather than the game giving the player a list of things, you need to do, leaving it up to the player to really plan the heist and execute it, and prepare it essentially. And then also taking it further in terms of like making it easier to get along and play with randoms and just fostering a community around the game that really enjoys playing together. So yeah, the Den of Wolves is now the next evolution, I'd like to say, or I'd like to think at least in that space, first-person shooter co-op games, and I'm so happy to be making the sort of power fantasy music again.
Yeah.
Because I do think that that's what I do best.
Right. Yeah. And your role sort of evolved now so that it's not just music, right? It's about narrative direction.
It has been, yes. I do still care about narrative a lot, and I do know a lot about the narrative and the tone of the story for Den of Wolves and the reasoning behind why we do certain things and so on. Because I used to be the narrative director, but I have to be clear, my time was spread too thin.
Right.
We have too much respect for the narrative aspect of the game to allow me to continue doing it the way I was doing it, because I did not have the time between being the composer, audio director, and narrative director. It was too much.
Yeah.
So I've stepped down as the narrative director.
Okay, no, I could definitely tell the passion you had for the story, and that's always been one of my favorite parts of the Payday franchise, for example, was delving into the story and what went from like a very grounded to a somewhat more convoluted story over the years.
Yeah.
But no, I can certainly sense that Den of Wolves has much more of an identity and a clear plan, and whether that was you putting it into place or whether that was the new narrative director, I can sense it.
Yeah. Well, that's all from Ulf, because Ulf, as I said in the presentation, has a very holistic idea of and a vision, which is like he knows what type of experience he wants to create, and then he puts the layers on the onion outside of that.
Yeah.
So that would be the next layer would be, yes, it's set in the future in science fiction, and it's this is the world that we're building in order for it to be able to create that experience for the player. So we're so happy that it's not the other way around, where someone would drop an IP in our lap and say, you're making a game based on this movie, or you're making a sequel to this existing game, because we have more freedom, now that we can sort of say the world of the game exists in order to make it a good game. We're not trying to shoehorn a good game into an IP that is also already has a lore and rules, essentially.
Yeah. Super interesting. I'm really excited to find more out about that. In terms of more the 10 chambers thing that we just got into, as you followed Ulf through the many companies, how has that adaptation been from working with Starbreeze and then working with the very small team on GTFO and then this expanded team? What have been some sort of challenges? What have been some massive improvements? Did it feel like going back to the old days when you first started on GTFO?
Yeah, it's, everything is, life is seasons, changing every once in a while. Sometimes, you want to be a small team. You want to be able to put your mark on the product to a greater degree and really have the freedom that you have, like not being told by anyone else and not being being under too much pressure from investments and stuff like that. There's freedom to that, but also you have limited resources. So you have to really think about what you're doing and make sure that it's like you make the most of what you have. That's true all the time, obviously, but it's even more so, I'd say, when you're a small team, But after a few years, with when we started out Overkill Software, it grew. We were acquired by Starbreeze, and Starbreeze. It turned out that what we brought into the deal, really, when they acquired us, was what could be the best shot at having, I guess, a golden goose, with Payday. So they had other games, and they made great games before. Starbreeze has a pedigree, an amazing pedigree as a Swedish game developer. But at that point, they didn't really have anything in the works that was like a better chance at success than the Payday 2 that we were working on already when they acquired us. So it felt maybe to some people who were working at Starbreeze at the time, like we came like a Trojan horse. Like Starbreeze acquired Overkill, but it was Overkill's IP that then became
The build around.
yeah, exactly. So that was, I guess, strange for a lot of people, but it turned out well from a financial perspective.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, has it become more challenging as things have grown here? Obviously, with the scope of what you want to do with Den of Wolves.
For sure, yeah. I'm not gonna say otherwise, because that would be lying. It is a challenge to grow a company, and it becomes more like, oh, you need middle management, and you need to like book meetings. And before it was like, we were 8-9 guys, and we could have our like an office, that was like maybe this half of the room essentially.
Yeah.
And then we were all sitting around the walls, and then we had a meeting. We just turned our chairs and to face one another, and that was the meeting. And we didn't need to like book a meeting room and have like emails going back and forth. But as a company grows, you need hierarchy, and it's hard to maintain the culture and the vision and make sure that everyone joining knows what we're all doing. Huge challenges, and it's been rough, really, growing the company as fast as we've done.
Yeah.
We were lucky to have GTFO as a sort of training ground for new hires, so that they found out about how we like to work and our tool set and everything, and getting to know just the way we do things at this company. So that was a good thing. So they moved on from that then to help out on Den of Wolves. But it's been a huge challenge. So what's important to point out is that we do have creative freedom still. No one's telling us, you need to do a sequel to this existing game or anything like that. It's all the, we're not trading shares.
You're still selling games.
Yeah, we're still selling games.
Yeah, I get it. I'm going to bring you back more onto your wheelhouse now and talk about music. How you would create a track back for Payday the Heist.
Yeah.
How has that now changed for when you're making something for Den of Wolves? Or is it very much the same process?
It's closer to, when I make music for Den of Wolves, it's closer to how I made music for Payday than how I made music for GTFO.
That
Because
makes
I
sense.
went down a rabbit hole with GTFO where the music was like fragments of music, and then it was all pieced together at runtime by the engine. So I didn't get the satisfaction of being able to sort of arrange the music as I was making it. I was just making small loops, exporting them, putting them in the engine, and then setting up rules for how the game could sort of piece these things together. It wasn't very stimulating for me as a music composer and producer to make it that way. And the music system in Payday the Heist and Payday 2 is very primitive, to be honest.
We think it's incredible.
Yeah, but it's not incredible because it's sophisticated.
Right.
It is primitive, but it's incredible because of its simplicity, really. And I do think you could add layers to that. I don't know if they've done it for Payday 3. I haven't played that game enough or looked behind the curtain in any way. Potentially they have, but I would like to maybe add a little bit of complexity or like sophistication to it in Den of Wolves, where it's like, oh, you're in this room and your other teammates are in the other room. And as a group, you're under attack because your teammates are fighting people in the other room. But because you're not, you don't have bullets flying by your ears, as in the place where you are, you're not a target for anyone. The music has a slightly lower intensity. And as you step into that room, you would feel the music sort of kick in because suddenly you're a target and you're being shot at and you're taking damage and you're shooting at other people. I would like to have that sort of. That doesn't exist in Payday the Heist and Payday 2.
No,
maybe in Payday 3.
No. It doesn't. This would be a complete innovation.
It's not. I think games should do that because it is an interactive experience, obviously, and it's supposed to be dynamic and match. The music is supposed to match whatever's happening on screen at any given point, and it requires a certain level of complexity and sophistication. Obviously, you can't make music for games the way you make music for video or movies, because movies are linear, so exactly. You can make a build-up and make it go silent right before the explosion or right before Tom Cruise says the line, whatever it might be, or you don't like me when I'm angry, whatever it's building up to something,
Yeah.
it's harder in a game because you need to have like logics and rules to like looking at parameters like player health or a number of enemies and stuff like that. I like that, but I went too far with GTFO.
Right.
Not that the music was bad, but that it wasn't fun or stimulating for me to make it. So yeah, for Den of Wolves, I've learned that lesson, and I'm going back to something that is closer to how I made the music for Payday the Heist and Payday 2 in order to make sure that it's fun for me. So I'm really unlocking a lot of sort of creativity in that regard.
And thematically, the music's changing quite significantly compared to things you've done in the past, would you say?
Well, not. It is electronic and it's very in your face and aggressive and sort of intended to make you feel badass because it is a power fantasy, Den of Wolves, just like Payday the Heist, and you're on the wrong side of the law, so it's like this escapism experience, you know, and we want the player to feel dangerous. So it has similar textures, you know, it's distorted synthesizers and stuff to make it feel futuristic but still gritty and dangerous and dark, you know. So it's subtle, tasteful distortion on everything from drums to synthesizers and whatever I put in there, you know. It gives it a certain texture, you know. But I do draw inspiration more from like trap music and hip hop and like slower, heavier electronic music and some bass music more than for Payday it was more club music.
Yeah.
You know, like house and techno. But it's more it's slower and heavier for Den of Wolves. But the that sort of tempo that I'm going for is nice because it's malleable in the sense that you can go double tempo. So seamlessly you can go into something that feels immediately much more driving and like stressful. So as you're fighting and you want the players to feel that sort of what would be the word, like that sort of confidence and deliberate sort of like we're everything's going according to plan. You have a slower pace to the music because it feels like confident and like a I don't know, steamroller, sort of something unstoppable. You as a team, you know, you're unstoppable and it feels like slow and heavy. But then as you go into and you need to escape or something happens in the heist that makes it like time is of the essence, then suddenly it's like you can kick into a higher gear and the music can seamlessly go into double tempo without it feeling jarring.
Right.
Because you can't go double tempo from like 130 BPM because double tempo would be 260 BPM, which is like...
It doesn't sound like music anymore.
No, it's like gunfire, really. But so I'm trying to look at tempos and like interesting unexplored territories for me, you know, with like certain rhythms and certain BPM.
That sounds really interesting.
Digits.
I've enjoyed what I've heard so far. So just very quickly, it would probably make the most sense to ask you about how you feel about the sort of the tone of the game and whether you think it's just going to be a very serious game or if it's going to go the way some of maybe Payday 2 did, where it stopped being so serious, and how that works into your music.
Yeah, I know Ulf wants it to be serious, and he feels like Payday 2 became less serious after he left because he wasn't there to sort of rein everyone in, you know, with like sort of, let's say, unexpected cross promotions. And I've heard him say he felt like Payday went from, you know, bank robbers in clown masks turning into clowns. You know, it's like it's not. They have a clown mask and they rob banks, but then it became like clowns, actual clowns robbing banks. When he's been frustrated with how he felt, like how his baby turned out in a way. You know?
They even added clown outfits at some point.
Oh, they did. Okay. Well, the concept for Den of Wolves is very much going back to basics in that regard, where it's like we're looking back at what inspired the first Payday game, Payday the Heist, you know, with heat. And like it's more serious tone. It's more Michael Mann than Michael Bay.
Okay. Interesting. That's a good way of putting it. I
Yeah,
think.
we're not putting rocket launchers in the hands of the robbers, because they're supposed to feel like, career criminals, and they're like a synchronizer watches is like clockwork. It's not like rocket jumping through
Sure.
hordes of enemies. It's more I don't know, real in a way,
Yeah.
and grounded and serious. Has a serious tone, and I like that for the music as well, because I do like making music that has that sort of sharpness and tone to it that feels very dangerous and grounded and serious in a way.
That's amazing. I think people will be very excited to hear that answer.
I hope they are.
I
Yeah.
think they're ready for that
Yeah.
right now. Thank you so much for your time, Simon.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you answering my questions.
I appreciate you posing them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks.